Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging. Tales of Argosa in the shadow of Tower Silveraxe. We have been playing around in the shadow of Tower Silveraxe without really knowing much about the tower itself. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this section of like what the players might know, there isn't really much that points towards this kind of time frame, of like, oh shit, trouble is brewing. So I think it's a little iffy. I mean, Evils of Ilmire can also kind of go that way, where the players just aren't aware that there's a cult operating out of Ilmire and stuff. But I think the time frame there is a lot looser. And you kind of just gradually see the effects of the cult spreading. Here, it's like, it's apparently a pretty strict time of a few weeks. And then shit starts going down. I guess it says, unbeknownst to the settlers and inhabitants of Gem Throne, the shadow of Silveraxe will soon be cast over them. So, really, nobody knows. I guess it just is what it is. I think, yeah, probably for a lot of groups, if they don't make the tower like a point of interest for themselves, they're probably going to end up with this thing happening where droves of undead march on the outer settlements. So, like I said, you could do the thing where the Amethyst Ranch gets hit and just wiped out. That would be probably a good way to do it. Or you could have like a force of undead actually attack Karn Buldar, possibly while the players are there, and they have to sort of help fend it off. That could be fun. I think that could also be pretty entertaining. It's still a little early for us. It's been about 2 weeks, maybe. Let's see, we spent 2 days traveling to the ranch. We long rested at the ranch. Probably spent another couple nights there total, so that's like 9, 11 days. Spent a day traveling to the other ruin. That's 12 days, and then 2 days back to Karn. So yeah, it's been about 2 weeks. So it's a little early for a horde of undead to hit Karn Buldar. So we'll see how the timelines line up. We did arrive back in town. I believe it's like evening because we did a little forced march there to get home. And we tallied up all our loot. So now we kind of have to decide... well, what to do with all this money and stuff. I guess if we have a room at the inn that's just like, hey, we're renting out this room for a while. Don't go in there. We could just set up like a chest or something. Otherwise, we just dump it all on the cart and hope that nobody ever hits our cart. Either or, really, I suppose. Like I said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of use for our money in this adventure. Which is something to keep in mind if you're gonna run something like this. Do not be surprised if the players are like, okay, well, where's the nearest bigger town? Because we want to go there. And they might spend like 2 weeks traveling back and forth from that bigger town or something. But then I guess they might come back after their nice fun shopping trip and find Karn Buldar has just been wiped out by undead or something, like, who knows? So keep that in mind. anytime I do a hex scroll for my family, they're always like, okay, well, where's the biggest town? We want to go to a bigger town. It's like, yeah, I know, I get it. But that's why I think, like, setting the adventure, the campaign in sort of a remote region and having some sort of time pressure does alleviate that somewhat. They still might make that decision, and that is perfectly accept. I mean, they're allowed to, but there probably should be some consequences. Granted, travel, especially long distance travel, is its own consequence, because there's a lot of opportunity for random encounters and things to go wrong. And especially if it is in a remote region, there probably is going to be random encounters with wild creatures and things like that. So, yeah, you know, that's its own sort of issue. All right, so I think we're just going to dump stuff off at the inn. We're going to rent out a room indefinitely. So, what did we say? It was like... You say it was 5 silver a night for a room here or something like that? So, let's just throw... Oh, I don't know, man. Let's just throw 10 gold at it. Just to maintain a room. And then we're going to dump off most of this cash into like a trunk there. So that's going to have the 1000 EP, 605 silver, probably more than that, right? Yeah, 1205 silver. Just delete all that. Okay, that's good. So now he doesn't have to have these coin slots. Good. We can drop off the necklace, bracelet, earring, 1600, 1000, 1200. Done. We also have her bastard sword. Actually, that'll go on the mule in the cart. All right. Good. Yeah, I guess technically he could take this scroll now. Doesn't really help him much. It sets his AC to 15 instead of 14, but it is 17 versus any ranged attacks. In the last half hour. I don't know, I guess he could take it. He could also take the time. We're not going to. Even though I think it really is fairly quick to do so. To just copy a spell into your spell book from a scroll. You can copy a spell formula from a magic scroll, fellow mage's spellbook, or other source straight into his own spellbook. Copy an existing formula at a rate of 1 page per day of dedicated activity. Right. Now, I don't... I know... Well, I know from, like, Pathfinder or something, if you copy a scroll, that destroys the scroll. Don't know when that rule came into play. It doesn't. I mean, Axe does not specifically state that. It literally just says you can copy it in, and I mean, I think it's logical that I don't know why it would destroy the scroll to just copy the formula. That's the whole point. Is it's literally like a recipe that you're copying down into your spellbook. And so like a powerful mage's spellbook contains just like a treasure trove of formulas, you know. So yeah, I think he could spend a day here in town copying arcane armor and gain it as a spell. And that would be one thing. For now, we'll keep it on the cart. I really don't want to waste too many days, and I don't think it's that useful of a spell compared to just saving a spell cast for slumber. Or sharpness, I suppose. Yeah, sharpness on Nefira's arrows could be pretty good. That would not be a bad idea. Now that she has precise shot, she's going to be using her bow a lot more. Now, divine scrolls, I don't think you can copy. Because usually you have, like, specific repertoire. You have access to all those spells in your repertoire. Yeah. So divine spells you get automatically. I mean, per my own rules. So every time you level up, you just get to pick a new spell, and that's it. Whereas arcane, they don't get spells automatically, but they have the potential to have a lot more options if they can find other scrolls or spellbooks or stuff. That's sort of how we're, you know, we're differentiating the two. Right. Oh yeah, so the level 2 spell, which I didn't add yet. I looked over all the spells available. There are some good ones in there, I will be honest. There's a few options that I think are pretty fun. Like Circling Winds could be pretty fun as like an AoE kind of thing. You have a sphere of howling winds surround the caster at a 10-foot radius. Any creature that starts their initiative or moves within 5 feet of the exterior of the winds gets attacked as if from a 2-hit dice monster dealing 1d8 damage. So basically a +2 attack roll for 1d8 damage. Any creature attempts to pass into the circling winds must make a paralysis saving throw or be forced back 5 feet from the nearest edge. Anything inside of the 10 feet radius, however, is perfectly fine. It ignores all that. It also deflects any missile attacks, dealing mundane damage directed at the caster or other creatures inside the radius, including arrows, boulders, bolts, bullets, and thrown objects. They just automatically miss. So that could be pretty fun. What I think I'm going to go with, though... I mean, Cure Moderate Injury is also a decent option. It heals 2d6, which is, you know, it averages out to 7. In this game, that's not super impactful for, like, a once-per-fight thing, but it's also not terribly bad, considering it's, like, a once-per-fight thing. It could definitely help shore up some hit points when we're not getting short rests or something. Yeah, it's not bad. What I think we're going to go with, though, is Halt Humanoids. So it's a 90-foot range. Lasts for Dalnir now 3 rounds. Causes 1d4 living humanoids to become mute and motionless. They have to make a paralysis saving throw. If they fail, they're paralyzed for the duration of the spell, or until the effect is dispelled or removed by a cure spell. A paralyzed creature is helpless and mute, meaning that anyone walking up to them can just coup de grace them and instantly kill them. I know I already have Slumber, but Slumber's not going to be something we really use in combat. That's going to be an ambush thing. This is probably something we might use in combat to just sort of end a few creatures. So that's what we're going to take. I probably should. Yeah, just to differentiate it a little bit. Range is sort of far, but not exactly. No options for, like, just putting in a specific duration. Okay. 90 feet range, 1d4 living humanoids, paralysis. So let's say luck on. I feel like I do a lot of luck on stuff, but I think that's correct. Luck on, save, or paralyzed for 3 rounds. Done. Now, someone commented like a month ago on one of my Tales of Argosa videos, and I wasn't doing solo RPG stuff at the time, so I kind of just glossed over it. But they mentioned that there is a way with the Foundry module for Tales of Argosa to do a lot of the things for me that I do manually. I think it was due to the linked table. Well, I think they mentioned, yeah, specifically for like blade trauma, I could take the ID for a sword, like the great sword here, and I think you copy. I don't know, actually. That's what they mentioned, but I don't know why that would work. Unless you go to specifically rollable tables. I think this is what you're meant to copy. I'm not... think. Just want to roll until I get a natural 19, I guess. Just to see if that works. You may not update documents to lock compendium. Okay, great. I mean, I could just, like, rather than looking up in the book every time, I could just, like, put it here. Okay, you're not even gonna let me... What? I think you can copy this. Yeah. Okay, so if you do that, then it'll roll. Okay. So then you could copy this. It's not really a big deal to me to look it up. It's a pretty uncommon thing, and I don't really mind. I have bookmarks. It's not terrible. I feel like we're gonna spend more time futzing with this than I actually would looking up the tables manually. Trying to get a natural 19. Would have been better to do with Rethi, I guess. There it is. So, I mean, you know. I guess we can do that. So then, like, for her long sword, we could put in that same table. For her short sword, we could put in the same table. For her bow, we could put in the missile trauma table. You know, I guess. It's fine. All right. Let's see. Rethy's just carrying a lot of shit. But I don't really want to remove much. I could maybe leave the helmet of telepathy behind, because I don't think it'll really do much for me. It's really more of a social thing. And we don't tend to do a lot of that solo. I mean, I'm sure some people do. They probably have whole, like, improv theater conversations amongst themselves. But, yeah, not really me. What do we want to purchase, though? I think we have a decent amount of torches. We have 5, and he has the illumination spell, which is mostly what we care about. I think we're going to move the amethysts off the wagon and into the inn. We definitely want to buy more rations, because we might be gone for some time. Who knows? So let's buy 20 rations. And yeah, I wish Axe had a more specific value than it does. It's really just like up to the DM to decide. 35 copper to 3 gold. DCC's values are all over the place, right? I don't know about that. And I don't even know if they have rations. Oh, they do. That's per day, 5 copper. So 1 week would be 35 copper. It's okay. So they go all the way on the cheap end. Shadow Dark. They definitely have rations in here. I know that. So that's 3 rations, which I think is 3 days of rations. They go much higher end. That's 1.5 gold for a week. Still within the Axe realm. It's right in the middle, really. Well, actually, I guess, no, it's not 1.5 gold. It's less than that. It's like 1.2 gold. Yeah, it's in there. I think a gold is usually what I do. So let's spend 20 gold on rations. Okay. There's a lot of other things that we could buy, I suppose. Healer's kits is kind of something I wanted, but if we go off the Tales of Argosa price, it's 75 gold. If we go off of that price, there's no way they're going to have it in this settlement. Because a 75 gold item has a 10% chance of being available. Again, you could make some sort of special rule for a healer's kit if there is any sort of healer or cleric in the area of some kind. But they also have a 5th level cleric, so I don't know how much they're relying on, like, mundane apothecaries and stuff like that. And there also is no mention of an apothecary being in the area. Like, there isn't one in the crafter's quarter. So, honestly, yeah, I might say 10% chance then for a healer's kit. Let's just roll for that, I guess. Alright, it's fine. We'll make do. You know, it's like you want to, I suppose, go through all the usual suspects that you'd like to have, like on your cart. You want to have a crowbar. You want to have grappling hooks. You want to have a shovel and a pickaxe. You want to have manacles, maybe military oil. Yeah, we should buy some military oil, actually. They'll have one. I'll have one flask of military oil because it's 2 gold. All right, well, it is what it is. We can buy as much common oil as we want. Well, 15 of it, but that's pretty much as you'd want. Technically, they wouldn't have that many rations then. I guess they'd only have 15 rations, but yeah, rations are kind of unlimited, I suppose. If you were being anal, it wouldn't be unlimited, but I'm okay with it. A whistle would be nice. A 10-foot pole might be nice. Sort of tricky to move around. Let's grab... I'm going to replace her spikes. So bring her back up to 5 iron spikes. So that's like 5 silver for that. And we're going to buy the 1 pint of military oil. So this will go back up to 5. So that's 2 gold, 5 silver. She'll spend that out of her own money. Oh, she'll also replace her arrows, which is 1 gold for 20. We'll spend the 1 gold. Well, I don't know how many she spent, so we'll be fair. She probably should be carrying a lot more than that, but we're not tracking arrows specifically, so I don't care. Yeah, like, so that's just to say that I wanted to... Okay, let's just load up the cart then. Fuck it. Again, anything 1 gold or less, we can buy 15 of. So let's say we want a crowbar. We can buy that for 1 gold. We want... I think we have a grappling... Do we have a grappling hook? No. And it's 25 gold, so chances are we can't buy it. That's a 10% chance. No, they do not have a grappling hook here. Again, it's a frontier town with adventurers. You could make that a higher thing. I could have said it's a 40% chance, 50% chance, or something like that. I mean, it's up to you as a DM. I think most games probably would allow a grappling hook, because in this, it says that he has all standard adventuring gear. So I think we could probably make a special exception for the grappling hook. So let's do it. The module allows it. What else do we got? We can buy some more iron spikes. Let's buy 12, just replacement. We could buy a lantern and oil instead of torches. But, you know, I'm not a big lantern guy, to be perfectly honest. I mean, what's the real benefit here of a lantern? I think it just shines further, but it's more narrow. It lasts long. It's 4 hours, which is pretty long. No, I mean, this lantern is exactly like a torch. It just lasts for 4 hours. I guess it is kind of better. And it's... less likely to be put out by some bullshit, but it can still be put out. Yeah, maybe it is better. Alright, fine. We'll buy a lantern. And we'll buy 10 pints of oil. We'll buy... How long is the wooden pole? I know 10 feet is the standard, but... It is 10 feet long, 2 inches thick. It says they're not heavy, but they're cumbersome. They count as 1 stone for encumbrance. I just can't... I know it's an old school common thing. I get it. But I can never picture it in my head of actually carrying a 10-foot pole through a dungeon and stuff. But I think it is kind of handy to just have on the cart, just in case we come upon a situation where it's like, damn, I wish I had a pole here. We'll buy another 100 feet of rope. I could also buy a large tent. That's assuming they have it, but if we were counting that as standard adventure gear, maybe they have one. Oh, tinderbox. Yeah, we need a few of those. I'm gonna buy 3. We'll buy a whistle. And sure, we'll say they have a large tent. Which is 4 slots, but again, I don't think we really have to concern ourselves too much. It could get to the point where we're running out of slots. Okay, so what does that all cost us? 126, 28, 38, 41. That's 1 copper for a 10-foot pole. 41, 43. 45.4. 46.4. And 66.4 gold. 46.4 gold. So we can deduct that from this. In silver terms, that would be 464 silver. 464 silver. Why do you keep closing the calculator? 464 is 741 left. Good. All right, good. We're all loaded up then. So while shopping, I guess we could hear another rumor. I don't really want to rush to the tower, because I feel like that's kind of where this mini campaign is going to come to an end once we finish the tower. And there's a lot of these other little dungeons that I'd like to get to. So I'm tempted to give this rumor, which is sort of the main thing. Strange lights were seen at night glowing within the Tower of the Builders, which had been dark for centuries. That's pretty big. That'll get you there. Mira looking for the gems. I mean, that's fine to be aware of and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's probably something I would inform players of. Is like, hey, she's looking for these gems. If you see any. It's really like one of those kind of Skyrim side quest things. It's just like, yeah, if you see any, this is who you're supposed to bring them to. And then the other one is Bulgren, a retired miner, who has a treasure map framed and hanging on his parlor wall. Which is this treasure map here. Leads to the treasure location marked on the map in hex E7. There's a cave at the southernmost point of the labyrinth that contains a staff of snakes hidden within. Okay, so it's a fairly minor location then. It's not even a dungeon. Again, I have no idea. It says E7, which you'd think would be like, I don't know, here-ish. But I think it's actually meant to be here. I can't read this map at all. I'll never be able to read this map. These numbers and letters mean absolutely nothing to me. Oh, you know what? I think it's a diagonal. Now that I think about that, if this is the diagonal 7, then this would be E7. Yeah, you're right. Okay, now that... Please save your comments. I think we've cracked the case. It's still a little weird, though. But I think, yes, so this is 3. This is 4, all the way up here. This is 5, all the way around here. This is 6. Yeah, I think we've cracked it. All right, I got it. I have learned. Now, if I were actually smart, I would just look at this section about reading the map where it explains all that. God damn it. You know, I'm juggling a lot of things here, all right? Give me a break. Oh, God. Yes, it is all very clearly explained there. Okay. So, again, let's go to the player version of the map. So we can see then, as far as places listed to us, we do know that there's some sort of ruins up on Forgel's Peak. And there's also some sort of statue over here to the north. There is a trail here listed that just seems to cut off. I don't know if that's a possible shortcut or something. The players would not be aware of that. They'd have to decide if they want to try this trail and see where it leads, if it leads to Forgel's Peak, or take the very long, winding path, which is like a couple days to get to Forgel's Peak. If we go and look at the DM map, we can see that trail just ends. So, you know, it is very abrupt. It leads into the Labyrinth of Shadows, I suppose. So, if you want to get into the forest, that's... Rather than tumbling down the mountain and the hills, that would be the trail that leads into there. There's a few of those. And they might be able to just see that it goes into the forest, I suppose. All right, so we're going to spend the night in town because we arrived in the evening and stuff. We might have done all the shopping in the morning. So we're going to spend one night in town. Before heading out, we're going to go along this 7.8 mile trail, the winding trail through Mount Sergili. And then it's another 6.5 miles to this intersection, close to the statue. And then it's 22.8 miles. So if we force march, we might be able to make it to the intersection, but it doesn't really matter that much. We're talking about a total distance to Forgel's Peak. Technically, yeah, it's close enough to the intersection. We'll count that. Okay, so 7.8 plus 6.5 plus 22.8. 37.1. So it's slightly more than 3 days of good travel. So it'll be 3 nights, and then in the morning we'll go for the ruins there. All right. So we heal. We're in a safe location. Good food, so we heal 2 points. I think we're all set. We're ready to march out, so we do. So our first leg of our trip is going to get us through the winding mountain pass and partway along this trail. We're gonna roll 1d6. 1, 2, or 3 is a random encounter. We got one, so it's a d12. That is a 12. I think that's the hill, not the hill giants, but the cyclops or whatever. Yes, 1d3 Golthek. Okay, let's roll a d3. 2 of them. Okay. So we have stats for them. Wait, it says page 42? I think you're wrong. Pretty sure you meant 52. Large cyclopean humanoids 9 feet tall with dull blue hair, ruddy yellow skin, and a large red eye. Their dress is typically made of feathered animal hides. They hate dwarves and will attack on sight. So there's no negotiating here. They have 15 hit points, 15 AC. They have a large trident that they can throw. They have +3 attack and 2d6 damage. Their dex is 12, so I don't imagine they're particularly stealthy, which means that Nefira is probably going to spot them. We're gonna I do really like, you know, we don't use Tales of Argosa for much here, I guess, but I do really like that activity die of what they're doing. It helps a lot. Okay, they're social. I feel like we always roll that. Come on, 5. All right, they're traveling. So they're hunting or exploring. They're on patrol. All right, let's go with their hunting. And we're gonna have. I don't think it should always be if you have a scout. I mean, it says the GM decides whether any checks are required. I think there usually should be checks unless it's just like, oh, there's a pack of 3 giant rats and they're just eating or something. It's just like, okay, whatever. But I think most times there probably should be a check. So we're going to roll her stealth versus their perception. Nefira, halflings make very, very good scouts, right? Like, just damn solid with advantage on all stealth checks. So it's pretty unlikely. We'll give them a perception of, well, they're cyclopean. They only have 1 eye. I don't think we have... Oh, we do have a stats for a cyclops. Perception of 8. Yeah. Not super observant. So this... I can't imagine she fails, but we'll see. Alright, she succeeded by 4. Or 5, actually. They have a perception. We'll give them 10. They're a little bit, you know, smarter and 10, so we'll give them a 10. Alright, they succeeded by 5. That is identical. How you want to break ties or anything, it's up to you, I guess. Well, actually, it might not be up to you. It might go to the player. Or I think it says something about like the status quo being kept the same. Tie means the status quo remains or might require a reroll. Status quo remains. Well, status quo remains would be a success for Nefira, essentially. But I think a reroll is probably not unwarranted. Oof. Dude, they're not beating that. They'd have to roll a 1. Alright, so yes. She observes these 9 feet tall cyclopean humanoids. These like tribesmen hunting. What are they hunting? Probably just deer or something. I don't think they're hunting. And maybe antelope. And they have these big tridents, and they seem very muscular. And again, it's an opportunity if we wanted to try to converse with them. I don't think we're aware specifically that they hate dwarves. We did hear the rumor that hill giants roam the mountains, but these sure don't look like hill giants, so... yeah, it's hard to say. This is what they look like. They look like Cyclops. I mean, they're not quite as big, I don't think. Cyclops are like... They've got to be pretty damn big. 20 feet tall. Yeah, so these are like little tiny cousins of Cyclops. But they look menacing. We could kill them. There's really nothing stopping us outside of like an alignment or moral issue. We don't know specifically that these things are like dangerous. The rumor did say that there are hill giants, and allegedly a few have attacked settled lands near Karn Boldar. So we could work off of that and assume that these are what we thought were hill giants and they are hostile. So I suppose we could try to kill him. Nefira would have to get pretty close to do a backstab. She'd have to get within 30 feet, which would be another stealth roll, but again, she probably would succeed, but she'd be on her own. If we bring in the others, then it's a group stealth check with them, and that's a lot worse, although we do have Recon Leader now. The thing is, we don't gain much from killing them. I think if we had encountered them before and knew that they hated dwarves and would attack us on sight, we definitely would try to kill them, probably. But it's hard to say. Alright, just to keep things spicy, so we don't just avoid every random encounter and walk around, we're gonna try to kill these. So Nefira is not gonna do a suicide mission. She's going to report back, and we're gonna try to stealth up on this group together. So we're gonna roll their perception check right here. Okay, they failed massively, so they're quite preoccupied. Maybe they've just gotten a kill or something, and they're field dressing it, or you know, who knows? I don't know. They're in the process of getting a kill on an antelope or something. They're preoccupied, not paying any attention. So pretty unlikely for us to fail. Now, one thing. Yeah, so your failure margin doesn't matter. So, say 2 of us fail, but we fail by 1. That doesn't matter. It's a failure. The only thing that might matter is your success margin. So all that we really have to do then, as far as this group check, is have 2 of these 3 characters succeed on a stealth check, which is easier said than done. Okay, Rethi did succeed. Obviously, Nefira is going to succeed, no problem. And Dalnir, probably not, but maybe. Okay, doesn't matter. We succeeded as a group. We're leaving the mule and the cart behind a bit. And so we're going to sneak up. Now, how close does your stealth actually get you? Probably, I would say, within like 60 feet. So if Nefira wants to sneak up closer, or anyone wants to sneak up closer, it is going to require another stealth check to get really close. I think they might be okay at 60 feet. Because they could charge. I mean, charge does exist, right? It's somewhere in here. Yeah, it's somewhere in here. There, charge. So you can move twice as far as normal to engage a new foe in melee. You get a +2 bonus on the attack, but enemies get +2 to attack you until your next turn. Right, so 60 feet they can charge. Nefira wants to get up closer, 30 feet to get backstab with her bow. So they're gonna roll perception again. They succeeded by 4. Or 6, I'm sorry, they succeeded by 6. She succeeded by 9. So she does get within 30 feet. She pulls back the drawstring, and she's going to let fly with a backstab. So there's a +4 attack bonus, advantage, and an extra 1d8 damage. Okay, so 16, that is a hit. They have 15 AC, so it's kind of barely a hit. She does 6 damage plus 1, so 7 damage. Not spectacular, but, you know, half its health is okay. So that one has 8 health left, the other one has 15. They turn and they roar, and initiative is occurring. Success. Okay. She's going to immediately fire another shot at that same one. Now it's just a normal short bow shot. It's not technically wounded because it's not actually below half. So had she done 8 damage instead of 7, it would have been wounded, and she could have used Finisher to add an extra D8. But it is what it is. So she's just going to roll. Alright, that is a hit. So that brings it down to 4 health. Rethi is going to charge in. And she's actually going to use Charger. Yeah. So she's going to use an adaptable thing for Charger. So targets, enemies won't get +2 to attack against her. And I think if she succeeds, something about knocking it prone, but it's probably just going to be dead. If you hit the target, must make a luck strength save or be knocked prone and or pushed a short distance. Right. So she's just going to roll this. So we always have to add the +1 for her longsword, so it's +3. That is definitely a hit, and that is very much a kill. So she gores it right through the chest with her longsword and drops. And Dalnir is going to charge the other one. He does not have any fancy stuff, but he doesn't need it. He gets just the +2. That is a hit for 11 damage. So this thing has 4 hit points left, and its buddy just got slaughtered. He will be making a morale check. Let me just check Cyclops' will real quick. 10. Yeah, pretty standard. Nope, he is not having it. So he's going to turn and run. Dalnir gets a free op on him. That is a miss. So this thing's going to run. Depends. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you feel about it and things like that. Generally, I like to give... Well, I mean, combat's still going on, right? This thing's going to run 60 feet away from Dalnir. So this is about now 90 feet away from Nefira when it comes to her turn again. Assuming we succeed on initiative, I guess. Yeah, we did. So 90 feet away from Nefira. We go and look at Axe real quick. Range on the short bow. 75 feet is short. 150 is medium. So she has a -2 penalty on this shot, but she's going to take the shot regardless. And she hits and she kills. So she launches a nice long-range shot. And right through the stomach. Causes 1d8 hit point damage at the start of each turn, each round. An apothecary check will prevent further damage. If failed, you may try again next round. Yeah, so it is very much dead. Okay, that was a success. Not really a significant combat, though. Like I said, my minimum is always somebody has to take damage. One of the player characters has to take damage at least. So we don't get anything for it. We can loot their bodies. They don't really have anything. You know, they're tribesmen. They have these big tridents and stuff if we wanted to come up with stats for that. It's a 2d6 weapon, apparently. Yeah. 2d6 if you wanted to. I mean, 2d6 is a pretty powerful weapon in this sort of game. I don't think any axe... No, nothing is 2d6. The fact that I have this Ifrit Scimitar, and that's 2d5, I would say part of the fact that it's 2d6 is because these guys are 9 feet tall Cyclops. Now, it says they're worth 125 XP each. I don't know if that's true. They're hit dice of 4+1. No, it's actually more than that. They're actually worth 140. Okay, so we killed 2 of them, so that's 280. I guess we get that immediately, right? So it's 280 divided by 3. 93. Why I just have a bad habit of closing this thing. 5365 plus 93. 54. So we'll go 5459. 5459. No, 54. This would be 8. Okay. Yeah, alright, pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, if I was gonna, if a player wanted to take these tridents and asked for numbers for them, they are larger than normal. So I probably would require a higher strength to wield, but I'd make it probably like a D8 javelin sort of thing, I guess. Although a spear is already D8 if you two-hand it. So maybe a D10 javelin. Which is pretty significant, but yeah, like I said, I'd require kind of a heftier strength. It's not like elegantly made or something. It's pretty hefty and crude. Yeah, it'd basically be like a lance that you could throw if you had enough strength. Like, I don't know, 15 strength or something. So it's a pretty solid weapon, but yeah. Right. That's pretty much it, though. We could... They did just kill an antelope. So we could butcher that if we wanted more rations. And take the time to do that, because they just killed this for us. What would be the stats on an antelope? I guess I could just Google the weight of an antelope and then go from there. Let's see. Antelope weight. Ranging from the tiny roads to the massive giant eland. Okay. So probably 500 pounds. Well, I guess it depends on the type of antelope, really. Pronghorn is not an antelope, but it's known as the American antelope because it closely resembles the antelopes of the Old World. But I feel like we're playing in the Old World. But I think this is what, if you're going to play with like Americans and stuff like that, this is what most people kind of think of when you think of an antelope, so I'm willing to go with that. So these things aren't super hefty. They weigh around 120 pounds, let's just say that. So 120 pounds. So to butcher that would take 120 divided by 5 is 6. No, 25. Yes. No. Yes. I can't do basic math anymore. 24. So 24 turns, which is 4 hours. Now that I want to call kind of bullshit on. Although I have no idea. Time to butcher a deer. Yeah. How long does it take you guys to process a deer? It takes me 3 hours once home to skin it, cut, grind, and package. My butcher can do it in under an hour. Now, granted, they're probably using modern tools. This says 3 to 5 hours per deer. God damn it, Axe. Why are you always so accurate and correct? Alright, so 4 hours to butcher this deer. Although, granted, that's just butchering. That's not skinning. But I think most people that are talking about processing deers, I would imagine they're talking mostly about butchering it. But I think, I imagine skinning is part of that. I don't know anything. So, field dressing. Go ahead and skin it while hanging. This is all sort of interesting, I guess. I have a buddy that's really into, you know, deer hunting and stuff, and he loves venison, and he's always talking about venison and processing deer and shit like that. Once I get it hung up in my garage, it's about an hour and a half to skin, quarter, take sausage meat, pull back straps, and tenderloin. Field dressing takes 3 minutes. Skinning takes 15 minutes. 3 hours to bone and freeze. 3 minutes to field dress. That's quick. Less than 5 minutes to gut, skin, and quarter. Skin and quarter in 15 to 20 minutes. Broken down, wrapped up in another 45 minutes or so. But I've been in the food industry since college. Maybe 4 hours to skin and process. Alright, so, yeah. So, to skin and flesh. What the fuck is fleshing? So 120 divided by 10 is 12. I feel bad for having to... I feel like my brain's breaking, but it's 10. I'm an idiot. So 10 turns. That's an hour and 40 minutes to skin and flesh it, plus 4 hours to butcher it. It feels slow, right? Although this is an antelope. I don't know what a deer weighs. I thought it was similar, but maybe it's less. 80 to 150 pounds. No, that's right about in the range there. So maybe the axe numbers are a bit higher. Than they should be. You know, it's a general approximation that has to work with anything from like a rabbit to a dragon. So yeah, it's probably a little fudgy, and I could see players being like, it does not take that fucking long. What the fuck are you talking about? Get your numbers out of here. I've skinned 3 billion deer in my lifetime. I can do it in 27 minutes. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know. But, yeah. It does seem to be two separate things. Skinning and fleshing and then butchering. So it's not like you're combining that or anything like that. I don't know if you can... I would probably say, and I think that's how I ran it. If you're just interested in meat, you can just do the butchering. You don't have to do the skinning process first or anything. Obviously, that's not, I think, how it's actually done, but I think the skinning is more if you're very interested in the pelt specifically. Anyways, how much would we get then of meat? We'd get 0.0265 times 120. 3.18 stone. Which is 30 pounds of meat. And remember, a week of ration is 1 stone. So we'd get 3 rations. So for 4 hours of work, sitting here, you'd get 3 rations. Honestly, it's like, you know, it depends. If you're under a stricter time frame and stuff like that, that's not great. But if you're out here in the wilderness and you need some food, 4 hours of work, and just saying like, okay, we butcher it, and then 4 hours go by and you have 3 rations, which is enough food for our party for the day. You know, it's like, okay. We could do that, but we are on a time frame and we want to go. But yeah, again, I just like to look over that just so I have it all in my head and understand. And if it comes up, it's like, okay, we know how that works. Granted, I sort of forget a little bit every time, but whatever. All right, anyways. We continue on. We camp for the night. I'm not going to have a random encounter check tonight. We are going to eat rations, so we'll just take that off the wagon. Oh no, we got to do our foraging roll. Hold on. Wilderness lore. Terrible failure. So she has to make a luck con check. Further depleting her luck score. Because I think it was very clear that that is... It just seems like, why would I ever bother foraging then? Luck is so precious. I really, yeah. I mean, some stuff obviously should deduct luck. Obviously, like major exploits or things like that. And I do think, like, certain traps, certain, like, enemy spells or abilities should probably deduct it. But there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, I don't really agree with that this should deduct, because it just can get destroyed so easily. So no, we're just gonna say that's a normal, or it doesn't deduct. And she did fail, so now she'll suffer a D8 toxin trauma for the whole next day. Do I want to re-roll? All right, we'll use 1 re-roll. Okay. Good. So we deduct 3 rations. They're going to recover 1 hit point. 1 hit point. And we have a new day. We're going to travel on. Yep. And we should... 7, 5... 4... So yeah, we're going to get to the statue today. Alright, we have another random encounter. 3. That is going to be brigands. Oh. 7 brigands. Okay. Well, let's roll their activity. 3. They're having a meal. Okay. So Nafira could probably catch them unaware. It is going to be their perception versus her stealth. And for like an opposed check like this, you probably are going to do like a representative check. So a single perception, you know, well, yeah, so it's a single check. It says perhaps the one closest to the player. You could also do just the one of the group that has the highest perception. the one most likely to notice. So let's say the highest in their group has a 14 perception. He's kind of a scout. He's a bit eagle-eyed. So their perception check for him is going to succeed by 3. Ours succeeds by 11. So they do not notice us, and there's a group of 7. Again, sort of off the beaten path, maybe in like a little bit of a... What's the term I want to use? Like a nook, or not a nook really, but you know, we're on this mountain trail, so they're sort of tucked away a little bit into the side of the hills here, and they are having a meal. You know, it's around lunchtime or something. And so Nefira spots these. Maybe she's up on an outcropping and looks down on them. And they're brigands. So, you know, they don't look like pleasant merchants or, you know, pilgrims or anything like that. I mean, we see weaponry. We see, you know, unshaven, messy hair, filthy. I'm describing myself, but also the brigands. It's a group of 7. But these are brigands, and that means something very specific. That means that they're all going to be 1-hit die. I mean, you can't always rely on that as a player, because the DM is perfectly capable of throwing you a curveball. But if we... look at the brigand stat block. 1-hit die. Pretty standard. I mean, it says each gang of brigands will be led by a 2nd level fighter. So a gang is 2d4, so I think that's what we have here. So yes, one of them is going to be a 2nd level fighter, 2-hit dice. That one will be a little bit of an exception. He'll actually get a saving throw for our slumber spell if we want to try that. It's also a 10-foot diameter sphere, which is not super big. You know, catching all of them in one spell is not going to be easy. It's also, yeah, it's going to be relatively unlikely that we catch all. 10 feet diameter. Assuming they're all around a campfire or something like that. I'm trying to just picture how far people sit around a campfire. You know, they're eating lunch, so they're kind of like cooking their food over the fire, so we might be a little bit more generous than normal. I would say not unreasonable to catch 5 of them in a 10-foot diameter sphere. Assuming we catch them unaware. So a couple of them will be on the outskirts. Outside of the sphere. So there'll still be some issues, but those 5, unless one of them's the 2nd level fighter, are all just immediately going to be slept for 30 minutes and can only be woken by like shaking them awake and stuff. So pretty good. The issue is we have to get Dalnir into position on this outcropping looking above them and stuff. So he's going to have to roll a stealth, and he's not great. And even with Recon Leader, you know, it's still somewhat unlikely. And secondly, he could fail to cast the spell. He only has a 15 intelligence, and he has no rerolls. So there's still potentially some problems. If we fail, we're still up on a rocky outcropping above them, which is a relatively good position to be in. We have, you know, at least half cover from our arrows and things like that. Why fight them? Well, because they're brigands. They're bad people, and we want to put a stop to it. You know, I could use the Helmet of Telepathy to try to fuck with them a little bit or something like that, but hard to stop the slumber slaughter plan. So, all right, Nefira is going to report back on the situation. So Dalnir is going to try to sneak up with her up onto the outcropping. Rethi is going to be about 30 feet back, so to not risk being seen or anything, because presumably this plan is going to involve a couple of them trying to charge up the rocky outcropping to kill these people, to kill us. So Rethi will be there to sort of block them from coming around. That's sort of what I'm picturing. All right, so we're going to get a new perception check then from them. Remember, they have a 14 perception. So he succeeds by 3. Nefira rolls hers. She's obviously massively succeeds. And now Dalnir is going to roll his. So he needs a 9 or better. Okay, he did not. He's only succeeded by 1. So technically he would get spotted. She's going to use Recon Leader. No, whoops. So he gets to re-roll. Alright, he only succeeded by 2. So he still gets spotted. So he stumbles on some gravel or something like that up on the rocky outcropping. And they all become very alert. And so at this point, we're going to roll initiative. There's still the possibility now, and a pretty good possibility, that we can still pull off the slumber spell. But there's not going to be any ambushing or anything like that. We're not going to get advantage on anything. Okay, so we succeeded. Good. So now we're going to roll slumber. Use up one of these arcane spell casting tier 1s. And roll for slumber and really hope this succeeds. It fails. So I have no rerolls, so that was his turn. He fucked up. It sucks. It sucks. What do you want me to do, you know? Now things get a hell of a lot more complicated for us. Because they can obviously see there were a couple of ne'er-do-wells up above them, and he just tried to cast a magic fucking spell on them. So, yeah, things are going to get bad quick. Nefira is going to immediately fire off a shot at one of them. She misses. Great. So they're going to kind of bunker down now to take advantage of as much cover as possible. So, like, basically full cover, I would imagine, if they're kind of prone on this outcropping. 3/4 cover, +4 AC, and luck dex saves. Okay, so now they all get to go. Again, Rethi is not coming up to join them. She's playing defense. Again, if we want to bring up, paint. I'm picturing sort of, this is sort of the area they're in, and this is like this is the road over here, so they just kind of went into this little nook. And then there's like trees and shit all up in here. This is a terrible drawing. And then all this is like mountainous area, stuff like that. Shit up in here. This is a terrible drawing. I'm not an artist. So this area specifically is like, like an outcropping or a little like mini cliff kind of overlooking the area. And there's like a really steep slope here. So it's good. They could try to charge up this way directly, but it would be really tough. And they would be charging an elevated position. Instead, they could go around this way to get up the way that we came and stuff. And so right here, this is where Rethi is. Is this clear? Does this drawing make sense to everyone? I think we got it. Okay. This isn't just a bunch of random scribbles. It all makes sense. So they weren't really prepared for this, so they're a little out of sorts. But we'll say that one of them manages to be next to his bow, and he's going to try to fire a shot off at Nefira. So he gets +1 to the roll, and again, she has 20 AC for this purpose, so he misses. clatters against the side of the rock. The others are all sort of grabbing their weapons and things like that. And that's pretty much how they're spending the turn. We caught them pretty unaware, but yeah, not great. All right, new initiative. It goes over to Rethi. Success. Okay. Dalnir is going to attempt again to slumber, because they're all kind of grabbing their weapons nearby each other and stuff, so he still might catch a good cluster of them. So he's going to attempt it again. Please don't fail me, Dalnir. Great success. Ooh, that helps a lot, because that means that I can increase one of these numerical values by 50%. And it's probably going to be the diameter sphere. You could change it so this 2-hit dice becomes a 3-hit dice. Or I guess, you know, you're changing this number. So instead of automatically succeeding on 1-hit dice, it automatically succeeds on 1 or 2. Which would let us automatically grab the level 2 fighter. But I don't know if we're really cognizant of that. So we're going to go for instead for the diameter, 15-foot diameter. Which is going to catch quite a lot of them. I would say 6 of the 7 are going to be caught now. Maybe the one that had his bow out already is off to the side a bit too much. So, yes. So, 5 of the 6 drop instantly. The last one is the second level fighter. So he does get a luck con save. Let me just check real quick the Tales of Argosa version of this, which is Dark Slumber. Okay, Luck Will. Okay, we're going to change Slumber to a Luck Will then. I sort of agree with that. I don't think it should be Con. I feel like I overused Con as a save. Alright, Luck Will. Okay. Now, what is his luck score and his will score? Not great. If we go to this chart here, based on their hit dice, it'll tell you their luck score. So, 5. We'll give him an above average will of like 13, because he's the leader. So we'll give him +1 to that. So he needs to roll a 6 or under in order to not fall asleep instantly. He did not. So he also goes down, leaving just the one guy. Nefira is going to shoot him. She does, right through the head, and he drops dead. Now we have 30 minutes to go around and slit all their throats. It's not super honorable, I'll give you that. And if you have maybe a paladin in your party or something, they might have some qualms about slaughtering defenseless men. But we have no such qualms. And Dalnir definitely knew what he was doing. So I'm going to allow it. And we go around and we kill them all. What do we get for that? Well, it's a good question. We can harvest their hearts, which are worth 10 gold pieces for Beguile humanoid effects. As far as loot is concerned, it's per band, not per gang. A band is 1d10 gangs. So they really probably wouldn't have that much loot. Let me just go and look at the treasure tables. Let's say... yeah, maybe just on the A table or something. Is not... yeah, maybe that's not too ridiculous. I don't think they have a lair or anything. I think this is just what they got. Although it's quite a lot of money, I gotta say. 275 gold piece average. That seems like a pretty hefty amount for a group of 7 brigands. So I don't know if I'd really even roll on this table. I might just spitball or something. Tales of Argosa is going to have its own treasure tables that we could roll on of just like carry loot. So most of these are going to be 60 to 200 gold on the carry loot B. Table A is going to have like 0 to 50 gold. I think that's probably fair. So we'll just roll on the Tales of Argosa table, which is pretty unusual for me. All right, pretty high roll. So this is, again, anytime it says silver in Tales of Argosa, that means gold for our purposes. Copper is going to be silver. So this is gold equal to the sum of the digits on the D100 roll, which would be 16 gold, plus a precious stone worth 100 gold, plus the highest D10 roll. Oh, right, because, yeah, D100 is usually 2D10. Or a D10 plus a D10 percentile, whatever. So that would be a precious stone worth 108 gold. And it is made of jasper. Okay. So there we go. That's what we get. And we can put this down on our loots. So that's 16 plus 108. And we'll throw it on the cart. Jasper, 108 gold. And someone else can grab 16 gold. 313. Okay. That's it. You know, nothing too fancy. They're not gonna have magic weapons or anything like that. It's all pretty basic. I mean, if you want to roll for like miscellaneous shit that they might have, like, you know, just like non-magical, like little trinkets or just like dressing, I think they call it. There are various tables for that. I don't know if Shadow Dark has a table for dressing. I think it does for dungeons. Possibly. I know amidst my giant folder of RPG shit, I definitely have some supplements or documents that have just random shit that you might be able to find. Actually, the Monster Overhaul might have something like that for brigands, but yeah, I don't usually concern myself with that crap, and unless you have players that like that kind of stuff, you probably don't have to worry about it. Alright, so then it's a matter of just XP, which isn't going to be too much. These are all... So it was 6 one-hit dice, which is 10, so 60. Plus a 2, which is 20, so 80 total there. So our total XP... Once again, close the calculator. I have such a bad habit. 16 plus 108 plus 80. 204 divided by 3 is 68 even. 5459. 5,527. Okay. Moving on. Nothing else. I mean, if we wanted to take there probably is supplies there, right? Like, there's got to be food, and there's got to be some other, like, pieces of equipment. They all are going to have, I don't know, like leather armor. Yeah, they probably are all going to have leather. 67% will be bowmen equipped with short bows, short swords, daggers, leather armor. 33% will be medium cavalry, really. I think I think it just used the word brigand. I think these are actually bandits. So bandits will usually be equipped with short bows, short swords, 2 daggers, leather armor. Bandit leaders will carry thieves' tools. Each bandit gang led by a 2nd level thief. So yeah, these are thieves, not fighters. And that's the difference. But yeah, they don't have cavalry or anything. So yeah, nothing else really changes there. But yeah, I mean, maybe there's a set of thieves' tools that we could throw in the cart as a spare. That's fine. As for all the leather armor, short swords, crap like that, daggers, yeah, I mean, you could collect it all. Technically, it would be worth some small amount of XP as loot if you could bring it back, but yeah, we're not going to bother. Rations. I guess that's a good question. They're bandits. So, I mean, they're living out here in the wilderness, so they do hunt and stuff, so yeah, I mean, I assume they have a decent supply of rations. Maybe like a week's supply for the whole group here, so probably like 49 rations. Maybe a bit less than that. Let's say 35 rations. So fuck it, yeah. I'm gonna grab 35 rations. Yeah, there might be some other stuff, like maybe some commodities or something if they recently attacked a merchant, but honestly, it's like, you know, how much travel is there really out here? I can't imagine they're doing that well as bandits. I think they're just sort of people living outside the law together out here and trying to survive. Not that they're good people or anything like that, but I don't think there's that many merchants or anything to hit. Maybe, yeah, the only real settlement is Karn Boldar, and it has like a big wall and stuff, so I don't think they're really sneaking in there or anything. So it's probably rough out here. Well, their problems are over. You can say that. All right. Good, fun stuff. Now, that wasn't a significant combat. Not really. But I want to be more generous, and this is a problem that I am having when I'm DMing for my family, where I'm not as generous as I probably should be when it comes to short rests. So I really want to, I know that this helps me out specifically here, but I do want to try to learn to be more generous with short rests. I'm a little bit maybe sometimes too anal when it comes to significant combat. So between this encounter and the one with the Golitheks or whatever, I'm going to constitute that we're allowed to take a short rest here. So everyone's going to be rolling. Good God, Dalnir, that really blows. No rerolls. He's got no more slumber. He's got no divine spellcasting level 1. This is bad. That was the main reason why I wanted a short rest. Okay, Nefira. Of course, she succeeds twice. Well, she's gonna get back probably a little bit more hit points and one of her tricks and technique uses. Rethi is mostly interested in getting a luck point back and a reroll back. Perfect. Yeah, so we're doing the... Oh, no, she needed a great success, we said. Okay, well, that's a bummer then. All right, we'll go for a reroll and one use of her adaptable, I suppose. Oh, yeah, her supplies did also get replenished because we went back to town. Well, that could have gone better, but it is what it is. We march on, and we're going to arrive at this statue. Which I think is just one of these ancient statues, because we're in... I can read the map now. We're in Hex B2. Yes, we're in Hex B2. So it's this statue that we come across, the warrior. 20-foot tall ancient statue, partially ruined due to time or defacement, depicting a fighter holding a sword and a large, monstrous, decapitated head. She faces south, roughly towards the peak of Mount Sergili. Can be used to read messages left by the builders throughout the region. So yeah, basically it's just there's 9 symbols on it. I don't know if it'll ever come into play, I guess, but yeah, I mean, we'll copy it down. We got parchment and ink and stuff, and Dalnir can read and write, so he'll copy them down. Okay, I mean, certainly a lot of work to get to the other statues to get the full piece of the puzzle. We'd have to go all the way over here to F5 for that statue, and then all the way down here to F8. Not simple. That's a lot of days of travel. We'll see how it goes. So we get a little bit further, and then we're going to be camping for the night. Well, no, I guess we were like here-ish. But yes, yeah, we go quite a bit further along here. Or like here or something. We're going to do our forage roll. Great success. So that means we only need to consume 1 ration tonight, even though we have lots of rations. Technically, according to Axe, these do have like a date. You know, they do go bad eventually. It's a fairly anal DM to actually keep track of that. It says, they do not remain edible for long. 1 week in the wilderness, 1 day in dank dungeons. That's if you get standard rations. If you get iron rations, those are actually like preserved. They're dried, pickled, salted, smoked, or otherwise preserved. Those remain for 2 months or a week in a dungeon. And I usually price things out at standard rations. Which are cheaper. And I really only ever use standard rations in my games. But again, it's like if I was playing with a group and they wanted this differentiation, they wanted to keep track of everything, it's like, all right, you know, fine, let's do it. In for a penny, in for a pound. But for my family, at least, this would just be one extra step of bookkeeping that's just not worth it. I'm happy enough that I get them to actually care about rations at all. All right, we are going to do a random encounter check for the nights. Okay, we do have a nighttime encounter. This is our first one. It is a 9, which is going to be 3d10 antelope. Well, that's a pretty benign encounter, I would say. Let's get a reaction roll. Okay, pretty neutral or uncertain. Doesn't really matter too much then of what they're doing. We can roll the activity die. Let's see what a group of antelope's doing at night. They're just traveling. Okay, they're on the move for some reason. Maybe they're moving away from the undead in the forest. Maybe, you know, there's something weird going on and they're up in the mountains now. That could be. How would the players ever figure that out? I have no idea. But I think I probably would impart a little bit of that. I'd be like, okay, well, it's unusual for you to see antelopes. I don't know. Is it unusual to see them up in the mountains? I have no idea. Maybe that's not that uncommon. What is the habitat of antelope? Oh, grasslands, savannas, woodlands, rainforest. Okay, yeah, all right, good. It is unusual. Thank God. So yeah, I would say whoever is on watch there, they sort of see in the distance, in the moonlight, a herd of 20 antelope sort of moving through. I wouldn't want to emphasize that they're moving like frantically, because then that might really like get up because they're running from something. Oh. But maybe more just like sort of an odd migration that I would point out. It's like, well, it's really unusual for you to see antelope up in the mountains here, compared to being in like the forest down there. So perhaps something has caused them to migrate here, but you know, you're not sure what. That I think is pretty solid. I like that. That's a good encounter. If they wanted, if the players really wanted, they were desperate for food, that's an opportunity to maybe kill a quick few antelope or something, if possible, but obviously it's not super easy. But that's it. That's the encounter. We are going to heal up another point. Whoops, why did I do that? Nearly at full health for everybody. And we march on. The final stretch towards the ruin. So we're going to roll a d6. We have another random encounter. This is 8, so that's going to be 1d4 black bears. That sounds not great. 2 black bears. What are they up to? That's also traveling, I think. Yeah, so they're also traveling. They're also coming out of the forest for some reason. Maybe they're agitated. Maybe that affects things. Let's roll a reaction roll. Okay. That's, that's somewhat towards the negative end, but still neutral. Uncertain. So they might attack Nefira because they're a bit agitated coming out of the forest. There's undead everywhere down there. And she's a small fry, so perhaps they'll spot her and sniff her. Do they get a bonus for sniffing or anything? Anything like that? Bear, black bear, acute olfaction. +1 bonus to avoid surprise in their natural habitat. Can track the scent of creatures for up to 6 miles. They're also skilled climbers. These things are pretty nasty. Alright, so we are going to give them a bonus on their perception to smell Nefira. Let's just go with a +2. And we'll put their perception... see real quick if Tales of Argosa has... stats. Okay, it definitely has a section for animals. And I don't know why it's not ever obvious to me. What the hell is it under? No, I just can't find it. There's definitely a section for animals, right? Alright, well, let's do the alternative then, which is just D&D 5e Black Bear. That'll just tell us exactly what their wisdom is. 12. Okay. So they're rolling against 14. Holy shit, they rolled a 1. Well, that's pretty bad. I mean, a 1 is a crit. We count as a crit. So she has to also roll a 1 on her stealth to avoid that. She rolled a 2, which is damn close. Technically, numerically, she did win. They succeeded by 13. She succeeded by 15. So if we didn't count crits as being an auto success, she would win. But we're counting crits as auto success. So that's pretty bad for Nefira. So now we have to get much more into the nitty-gritty of how this encounter plays out. They are aware of her, so what we need to determine is the distance of the encounter. And there we might actually go to Axe if I want to get really into the nitty-gritty of how close these things are. That might be in the regular rule book, not the DM book. Encounter distance, wilderness encounters, blah, blah, blah. Wilderness encounter distance table. This is going to be... well, yeah, I mean, I guess technically we're in a forested mountain. So the average distance there is going to be 68 feet. We'll just go with that. I'm not going to roll. So 68 feet. which is a bit more than a human or a halfling could charge. But I think generally, like something like this, yeah, has a 40-foot movement. So we're going to give them a slight edge. That if they do charge Nefira, they could get to her in one turn. So this isn't going to be a surprise encounter. I could roll the flip side where they roll stealth and she rolls perception, but they're not actually trying to be stealthy. They're just wandering, or they're sort of fleeing the forest a little bit. They're just moving through. So she's the one that was trying to be stealthy. So she sees the bears. They smell her immediately and sort of see her. They probably smelled her for a little while. But now they see each other. So we see each other at the same time. And now it comes down to initiative. Luckily, she has a pretty good initiative. Barely. Fucking barely succeeded. The problem is that if she runs, they're probably not unlikely to give chase. They're good climbers, so we can't really climb a tree. We could take a bigger risk. We could prepare an action of flash powder. So as soon as the bears come close, we throw flash powder in their eyes. They have to roll luck dex or become blind. If we do that, we probably can run away and they'll be like so scared off that they won't follow. That's how I would probably rule it. I mean, that for animals, that's like a fucking encounter ender, as long as you're out of there, before they can see again. I could also fire a shot, but preparing an action is an action, so I can't really do much. So I think if I run, it doesn't look too great for me. I might be able to sort of dodge through the trees, but they can smell really good. So I need to just scare these things off. So we're going to take a big risk here, and I'm going to hold my ground and prepare the flash powder. They might not actually charge me. Because I rolled a neutral or an uncertain. So if I just stand there, they might not charge me. But I'm not quite sure how I want to adjudicate that. I might just do an oracle roll. Yeah, just the whims of fate and how exactly these things feel. But I'm going to stand my ground and prepare the flash powder in my hands. And again, the other two aren't even aware that this is happening, so they can't participate. So alright, it comes to the bear's turn. I'm going to roll an oracle. Do the bears charge Nefira to try to eat her? They do not. Alright, well then that's good. So they just sort of look at me and sort of like grunt, huff a little bit, but they keep traveling on the path they were on. And Nefira breathes a big sigh of relief. Okay, that was pretty close. Again, if the reaction roll probably should have gone way worse, shouldn't it? Because it was based on Nefira's charisma, which is -3. I'm not quite sure how that makes any sense. I feel like the specific purpose of that concept is just so you don't have charisma as a dump stat. So it actually has repercussions to have a shitty charisma, even if you're just out in the wilderness with black bears. But I don't really see why her being like ugly or her being rude or just impersonable, I don't see why that would affect the black bear's chain of thought. Someone wants to explain that one to me. But we'll play it as is, and the bears just keep moving on. But it was pretty darn close. Yeah, that was pretty close. She is not a stealth god. Some things can crit. But we move on. We're on the final stretch now. We're not going to force march. We're going to spend one more night here with the ruin in sight. And this ruin is the... it's something with an F. Forgel's Peak. D3. That is correct. Yep, D3. A quarter of miles or so from the road, ruins of an ancient structure can be seen beyond the trees in clear weather during the day. Okay. So yeah, Nefira is scouting ahead, so she kind of sees the ruins up there, and we decide to camp off the side of the road. There's not going to be... Well, let's do our foraging roll. Alright, success, so she doesn't have to eat a ration. Just 2 others. And she's back to full health. So we're all at full health going in, but not at full power, to say the least. And I'm not going to do an encounter for tonight. And in the morning, we continue on off the road, through the trees, towards this ruin. Though it is uncertain, explorers of the ruins believe the builders may have used it as a rite of passage or kind of trial of willpower due to the demonic imagery found in the statue hall. Great. There's a 3 in 6 chance of encountering a patrol of brigands from room 4. Okay, we'll roll that. We do. There is a patrol. Now, Nefira is not scouting ahead. She is with the group. We're with the cart, so we're not really being stealthy. So that represents a slight problem. We're not really being stealthy. I don't know if the brigands are being stealthy. They're just a patrol in the area. I don't know why they're patrolling, but there is a lot of brigands in the area. I'm not quite sure why they would be patrolling the exterior. That seems like a weird giveaway that there's more brigands inside. So fuck it. No one is being stealthy. Maybe they just come around sort of a corner. You know, around like the side of a wall or something of these ruins. And they see us, we see them. It's fairly open, I guess. This is beyond the trees, so it's somewhat of an open area. They're a bit elevated, but yeah, it's somewhat of an open area. So yeah, we'll say they're about 100 feet out. So we're giving 2 of them bows. One of them just has a short sword or something. They could fire. They would fire at a penalty. It's beyond 75 feet. I guess let's roll a reaction roll. Just to determine if it's pretty low, they'll probably attack on sight. Otherwise, they're probably just going to go in right away and warn the others that there's, you know, what looks like adventurers or something afoot. Let's roll the reaction roll. Okay, 6 is reasonably low, but... yeah, maybe they would sort of post up at the entrance, like the staircase or something. There are 2 entrances, the east and west. But they come from this section, so we'll put them on the eastern side of the building, the structure. I guess it's a pretty big structure then. So they're over on the eastern side. So they're going to post up close to there, and they're going to try to fire pot shots at us. But first, initiative. Because we obviously... we know what a brigand looks like. We just slaughtered a bunch of them. We actually failed. I could use quick reflexes, but I think we'll accept the results here. So they're going to fire shots. We'll pick targets randomly here. One's Dalnir, one's Rethi. All right. So they have +1 to attack, but because of the distance, it's -2. So they actually have -1 against Dalnir. That's a miss. Against Rethi, that's a miss. So the arrows just land near us. The other one, the one that doesn't have a bow, he's just kind of behind cover. You know, he's sort of tucked into the wall there. It's possible they might think that that's enough to just scare us off, but I think they see our cart and our mule, and it's kind of loaded with stuff, so they probably want that. I think, honestly, the one there might run down. Although they seem kind of scattered. No, if he goes down here to room number 7. Yeah, fuck it. I think it's the most logical. So the one there is going to run down into the building, so we can sort of see him run in. So we go, I guess Rethi and Dalnir are just going to charge forward 60 feet. Nefira is going to move 30 feet, and then she's going to fire her bow, which puts her at about 70 feet, which means she is able to fire without a penalty. Crit! Boom! That is a fucking Legolas shot, baby, right through the eye socket. 9 damage. Dead as shit. That's going to prompt a morale check from him on his turn. But it's a new round. We failed again. So he's going to roll morale. He drastically failed. So he also just shouts and sprints down into the building. And that ends the combat. Okay. So there's 2 survivors of that encounter. And they're running to warn the other 6 that are down in room number 7. That means that we either are going to be walking into an ambush of 8, or there's going to be 8 coming out. Brigands tend to be, well, again, I'm treating these as bandits more than brigands. But I guess these could be brigands, but brigands are usually former soldiers. Although it interestingly says here, 5 brigands are here discussing something about orders from the upper ranks. I think there's just no explanation for who these brigands are, what they're doing here, or anything like that. I mean, are these guys with Silveraxe? I have no idea. I mean, Silveraxe is a large and infamous group of brigands and mercenaries. But I don't know why they wouldn't be with the whole thing in the tower and everything. I don't know why they'd be split off to the side. I have no idea. I feel like this module could be written a bit better, personally. Just be a little clearer on some things that don't require the DM to just fill it in. Some people like that and prefer that, but I don't know. There's like that just unfortunate level of information where there's a bit too much to just sort of make up a lot of your own stuff, but then there's not enough to answer a lot of the basic questions you might have. I think, yeah, ne'er-do-wells and these sort of people are probably more likely to set an ambush. So I think we can surmise they're not going to come out, and they're going to be waiting for us down there. In room number 4. They're all posted up. Which represents a problem, because I don't really want to go down there into an ambush. So we might leave the mule and the cart back in the trees over there. And I think we're going to move around the structure to see if there's an alternate entrance. And there's the western entrance. That's probably the way we're going to go down, and hoping that we can... I mean, we have no idea of the layout, so it's just a hope that we might be able to come around. But obviously, as far as we can tell, the brigands just use that other entrance for some reason, and we might not think there's any brigands down this way because of something worse over here. But it is what it is. You got a rock and a hard place kind of thing, so we're going to go down the west entrance. Smell of smoke tinges the air. 2 doors to the east and south, and the stair leading up and out. If the party has not been detected, they may see torchlight through the crack beneath the south door and hear the murmur of voices. Brigands in room number 5. Right. So I think we're going to roll a group stealth check to see if they hear us clomping into room number 1. So yeah, just group stealth check. Pretty simple. Rethi terribly failed. Nefira, of course, great success. And Dalnir, great success. That is good enough. So we are pretty stealthy. And we can see torchlight, yes, coming from the crack under the south door. And we can hear some voices in there. I think probably our best bet then is shock and awe. Kick in the door and slash a head off or two. Yeah, I think doing stuff like that, usually I'm not going to give surprise an advantage to the whole party. Because they, it takes a little bit of time to shuffle through a door and everything. So really, whoever goes through the door first is going to get advantage. And some surprise. So that's probably going to be Dalnir. He's going to barrel through the door. There's 18 strength. He's going to swing that scimitar. And depending on how many there are in there, he might do a bit of a cleave action. So that's what's going to happen. Yeah. And away we go. So no check for him barreling through a wooden door. That's fine. There are 5 brigands in here. I guess we could have been listening to what they said so we could learn about that, but yeah, fuck it. We're sick of brigands. So he barrels through. He's going to get advantage on his attack here. Wow, he actually failed. He rolled a 4 and a 1. Okay, so he was a little too slow, so he swung his big sword and they ducked under it. And he missed. Fuck. Well, now we have to succeed on initiative, otherwise it gets real bad real fast. Great success. Good. Alright, he's gonna spin around and swing it yet again, now without advantage. And he misses again. So it's just a big goofy dwarf swinging a big goofy sword. Great. Well, Rethi will charge in and do what she can here. If she kills one, she could get opportunist and kill another, and then maybe also do a cleave. We'll see. But she's gonna roll. She also missed. This represents some severe problems now. Nefira's just gonna be in the doorway, and she fires her bow between some shoulder blades. She also missed. Because they have 13 AC. We're looking really fucking incompetent here. And so I don't think they're going to be inclined to, like, run and tell anybody, because we seem like idiots. So they're just going to butcher us. So we'll put 3 on Dalnir and 2 on Rethi. And they get +1 to attack. They all have swords and shields, so D6s. Against Dalnir. Miss. Hit. Miss. Okay, 1 hit for 5 damage. Against Rethi. Miss. Miss. Okay. Well, we prove a little bit more competent on the defensive aspect, blocking some hits and stuff like that. But they have drawn blood, unless they will all die. It's going to be Rethi's initiative now. She failed. They're going to repeat the same shit. Actually, another thing that I don't do much as a DM is minor exploits as creatures. But that's usually because, I'm DMing and they have a hard enough time as it is. I don't like to compound it by being like, yeah, he throws dust in your eyes and now you're blind. But if you're playing for keeps as a DM in Tales of Argosa, yeah, I mean, anything that lands a hit should probably be doing a minor exploit. And it's probably going to be pocket sand, to be honest. But if it's like, if you're attacking 3 times and the first one lands a hit, trying to trip the guy so he goes prone for the other 2 to land their hits, not a bad idea. That brings me to another point, actually, and that's that outnumbering targets. For some reason, I haven't mentioned this at all. I've been ignoring this the entire time. But that if you outnumber 2 to 1, you get +1 on your attack rolls. If you outnumber 3 to 1 or more, you get +2. So actually, he should have been hit a second time. They outnumber him 3 to 1. So he should have been hit a second time for 1 more damage. Yeah, I really should be aware of that. I usually am, but for some reason this time, this campaign or whatever, I haven't. Yeah, I mean, we haven't done many minor exploits as our characters, but that's usually because I kill the target in 1 hit. And if you kill the target, you can't really do a minor exploit on it. Or why would you? But yeah, I guess he should. I guess I should be aware of that. So one of them's going to try to do pocket sand, and that's Dex versus Dex. Brigands are going to have... Oh, I don't know. Bandits, whatever. 11 Dex, so he rolls a 12. He fails by 1, so it doesn't matter. He fails. Good. Now we get to go. No, wait a minute. They haven't rolled yet. Right. So against Dalnir, again, they have a +3 because they outnumber him so much. That is a hit. That is a crit. That is a miss. Okay, so crit is max, +3, 9 damage. Brings him down to 8. I guess one of them is going to attempt a minor exploit of pocket sand. Why not? They roll a success of 3, and Dalnir rolls a failure. So he is near blind this turn, which means that he is... I never know where minor exploits are. Oh, here it is. Exploit, yeah. It mentions that specifically. Temporarily blinding them for 1 round. Not even near blind. That's just blind. So he has a 66% miss chance automatically, which isn't good. As for Rethi, that is a hit on Rethi. So she's going to take 2 damage, and he'll also throw pocket sand. He succeeded by 7. Or 6. That's going to be a tough one. Yep, she failed. She's also blinded. Fuck. This is why I don't do minor exploits against my players. Because it's just so mean. You know, you're usually not doing minor exploits on things like this because they have 4 hit points. If you hit them, they're probably dead. But you have like 20 hit points. So if they hit you and then do a minor exploit and you get blinded, you're really fucked. Yeah, so it says for 1 round. I think that's really just like, yeah, their round of activity at the end of their turn or something. All right, so Dalnir, he needs a 5 or a 6 to land. He doesn't. Rethi, she does, so she can swing her longsword at one of them with +1. She misses. Fucking hell, this is bad, man. I can't believe we're rolling this terribly on attack rolls. Especially Dalnir. I mean, come on. Nafira's going to try to land a shot. Okay, she does. She gets a kill. Excellent. Okay, she's got to go for a major exploit. We gotta thin the herd a little bit. So she's gonna pick off one on Dalnir. She's gonna try to ricochet the arrow. Oh yeah, we're getting weeboo here. She's gonna try to ricochet the arrow off the wall, which doesn't work at all. But fuck it, this is fantasy. She's ricocheting the arrow off the wall to try to shoot all three that are on Dalnir. That's what we're doing. So this is going to be luck perception -2. Great success. Excellent. So now she's going to roll damage, which is just 1d6 plus 2. Ah, fuck. Oh, no, it's plus 2. Yes, 5 damage. That's enough. So yeah, she ricochets it and goes through all 3 necks, and the bodies drop. That's pretty big for us. That is pretty fucking big for us. That was a good use of a major exploit. Yeah, it always comes down to cleave. It's just the most useful thing. But to be fair, I don't tend to throw a lot of like big single target creatures. I mean, that's relatively uncommon. But if you're fighting a big single target thing, then you're going to use all sorts of other different major exploits, like blinding it or, you know, whatever. All right, new initiative then. Terrible failure. Okay, we are going to be prompting a morale check from these last 2, though, because they were not... I mean, the fight was going really well for them, and then suddenly 3 of them dropped dead through arrow through the neck. So that is going to be a will check, and we'll give them 10 will. All right, so they fail, so they're gonna hustle it out of there. Rethi does get an op. That is a hit and a kill. She's going to immediately use Opportunist as one of her adaptables to try to swing at the next one. And that is a hit and kill as well. Excellent. None of them got away. Whew. Okay. I really did not expect it to go that poorly. Jesus. Okay, good. Short rest. That was a significant combat. Excellent. Dalnir succeeded twice. I think I might give him back... I mean, the reroll is good, but I think I might give him back Divine Spellcasting and Arcane Spellcasting. Yeah. Because I think we might need to use the light spell here, the illumination spell, but I'd like to have slumber available for that ambush. Nafira doesn't have much to recover. She got a great success. I guess she'll get back a trick and technique. And then Rethi also doesn't have much, but she can get back that adaptable use. Okay. Yeah, had she got a great success, she would have got a luck back, but whatever. Okay, in here, there's 19 copper, chainmail +1, and shield +1. God damn. And 65 gold. Okay, well, Rethi is going to loot all this shit. And she's just going to upgrade this shit. This just gets swapped over. So now it's chainmail +1. 5 AC bonus. And shield +1. So for her, that's a 3 AC bonus. Oh my god, 18 AC! Yes! Now, perhaps they should split that, and Dalnir should get the chainmail +1. So she's at 17 and he's at 15. That might be a better thing. Also, he was at 8 hit points. Maybe I should have... Okay, instead of the divine spell casting, I'm going to give him his hit points back. There you go. Alright, we'll split the difference. So this is going to go back to being chainmail with 4. And he'll get an upgrade. There you go. So she's still top of the heap, but he's at least a little better. He got beat up a little bit too much that fight. That's why I want to fix it. Okay, so let's keep a tally of this shit, though. 65 gold for that. And then, yeah, these 2 magic items are pretty big. 690 for the chainmail, and 670, I think, for the shield. And then there's also all their standard equipment, but that's fine. We'll leave it as it is. Nefira will replenish her arrows a little bit. So there's a door to the east, door to the south. I guess we'll listen to the door to the east. Success. Technically, I should be checking all these doors for traps as well. But we don't have to really do that, since I know there's not there. But just assume that I'm checking all these doors for traps. It's smart practice. And I suppose we also search the room. Now this, I will say, there is a concern here. If we spend 10 minutes searching the room, right? That is a good amount of time where they are sitting there waiting in ambush. And within a few minutes or so, like 5-6 minutes, they're probably going to send one of their number as a scout up here to see where we are. And if he sees that we're nowhere nearby, they're going to think one of two things. One, we either left the way we came and we're gone, or we went around to the west entrance. So eventually they're going to either, or more likely both, they're going to check the west entrance, or they're going to go sort of follow our footsteps the way we came in, where they're going to find our mule and our cart there. Neither of those are great options. So we're under a little bit of a time frame here that's probably already going to be extinguished if we, like, search this room. We are likely to be backstabbed. Now, is it reasonable for players to assume all this? Maybe. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, I'm thinking of it right now. I mean, obviously the players didn't know that they were waiting in ambush down there, but I think that's, again, a reasonable suspicion. Where you find 2 or 3 brigands, you're going to find like a dozen brigands. So we know that they ran down the steps into the structure, so there's probably more that they were warning, and they didn't come back out immediately, so, you know, probably an ambush. Let's see. How do we want to approach that then? In that case, really the only sensible thing is to go back outside now. Back out the west entrance, go back to the east entrance, and see if we can catch them, maybe splitting up or maybe coming back out. Enough time has passed that they might, like, if we can catch that scout or something, or probably you don't want to kill the scout. You want to wait in stealth for him to think the coast is clear, and then maybe some of them will come out, like, you know, 4 or 5 of them, to maybe go around to the west entrance. So I think that's what we're going to do. Instead of searching this room or going into this next room, we're going to go back out the way we came. Now, there is a chance, then, that they are already out. And they're already... I don't think that much time has passed. I mean, honestly, it's been maybe a few minutes. So I don't think... I'm going to do an oracle roll. We're going to say it's unlikely. Have they come out yet? Okay, they definitely have not. So now we're going to try to post up... to have eyes on the east entrance. Honestly, yeah, we probably should do it from a distance. We could go back to the tree line. I'm imagining this as a fairly open area, so there's not going to be a lot of cover close to the place. I don't even know really what this structure is supposed to be. Oh, it says it may have been used as a rite of passage or kind of trial of willpower due to the demonic imagery found in the statue hall. Okay, so it's hard to say. But yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be fairly open. We're up on like the mountain peak here, so it's kind of just an open plain, sort of. We could have Nefira just be like peeking around the corner here and keeping an eye on the entrance. And the others are a little bit further back. And so then she can just see if anyone's going to pop out. And she's pretty darn stealthy, so probably hard to notice. She's also pretty low to the ground. I think that's probably our best bet if we want to actually try and ambush these guys as soon as they come out. So, alright. So that's what we do. And we wait there a few more minutes. And then, I think a lot of solo players would just do a lot of things up to oracle rolls and things like that. But I always try to treat this as if I'm DMing. And so if I was DMing, they would do what I said. They would send out one scout to sort of check the area very cautiously. So he's going to come out and peek out his eyes. And Nefira is watching the entrance directly. So anything that pokes out there, she's going to notice. It's more about him seeing her that's in question. So it's going to be a stealth roll for her. Yeah, she succeeded by 13. Versus his perception. Again, we'll say that he's their scout, so we'll give him a perception of 14. He succeeded by 4, which is not enough. So, yeah, she sees this guy very surreptitiously, peeking his eyes around, trying to look. He's not stepping out too far. He doesn't want to catch an arrow or anything, but it looks pretty clear to him. And he's done his job. You know, he was told to go up there and take a look around, and he did. So he goes back down. He informs the group down there that it seems like they're gone, and they have this same discussion. Like I said, that either we left or we went around to the other entrance. Now, there isn't really good communication between the two groups, right? Because this corridor is trapped. There's a poison gas trap in the middle. And then this is just like a wall. So this is a room this just seems like a dead end. So they basically had split their group into two, and one side went into room number 4 and then room number 7, and then the other group was over here in 5, and that's it, really. So, yeah, they really don't have, they got to reconvene. So they have that discussion about whether we left or we went west, and they decide, well, probably, if we left, then who cares? If we went to the west entrance, then they probably want to send men over there to support. So we're gonna have, what did I say? There was 8 of them. Yeah, there was 8 brigands on this side. So they're gonna send 6 to go and check the west entrance. Okay. So we definitely hear the footsteps of 6 brigands coming up the steps now. That's a lot harder to hide. If you think of it as a group stealth check among 6 of them, that's pretty likely to fail. So now we're going to be ready with an ambush. And this is not going through a doorway. This is a much more open ambush. So we're all going to be able to get a surprise attack on them. So we have our weapons ready. And as soon as they're about to come around the corner, we charge. And bada bing, bada boom. We're going to slaughter 6 of them. Again, they have AC of 13. Dalnir, swing that sword successfully, please. He did. He butchered one good and plenty. We could cleave.
But I'd really hate to waste luck on this. I think we're going to drop 3 of them pretty darn quickly here, and then win initiative and maybe drop 3 more. So I'm not going to cleave. Rethi swinging the longsword. Yep, she drops one, no problem. Nefira's going to fire off her short bow. She gets advantage and +4 and an extra D8 damage, because this is technically a backstab. Oh yeah, no problem. So that's another one. Oh no, she only rolled a 10. Holy shit. With a +8 and advantage. She rolled 2s. She rolled 2 twice. Fuck. God damn it. It's so shitty. Alright, well, initiative it is. And she failed. She's going to use quick reflexes on that. Oh my god! What the fuck? What the fuck, Nefira? Okay, so we dropped 2 of them. That's not half the group, so I'm not going to trigger a morale check. They're in this fight. We've got 2 of them on Rethi, 2 of them on Dalnir, so they outnumber them by 1. So they get +2 to the roll against Dalnir. Miss, miss against Rethi. Miss, miss. Perfect. Let's put a stop to this, shall we? Rethi swings. Hit and kill. Dalnir swings. Miss. Nefira shoots. Probably the one on Dalnir, or one of them on Dalnir. Hit and kill. Excellent. Okay, Rethi is going to roll initiative. Great success. She swings again on the other one next to her. Kill. And Dalnir swings. Fumble. Hit. Alright, yeah, he is going to get a free attack. +1 only. Miss. Nefira will put him out of his misery, though. Yep, no problem. Combat over. Not significant. Close to being significant, but not quite. Which is funny. The rule of that I have of players have to take at least a little bit of damage. It is unfortunate then to have like a lot of AC and stuff and have things just whiff over and over. I could change it to where there has to be at least 2 rounds of combat. So either somebody takes damage or there's 2 rounds of combat at least. Then maybe that's a significant combat, so it's not just an instant ambush and it's over. There's at least some back and forth and some attack rolls were made on both sides. I could change it. That would be far more lenient. But maybe that's too generous. I'm kind of curious as to what... I should go to the Discord. Actually, hold on a second. I do kind of want to end the video soon, but I'm curious as to what people in the Discord rule as being a significant combat. So this is from the designer himself. It says, if the PCs only lost a few HP and didn't expend any or few class abilities, the GM may decide that that was not a significant combat. That's way harsher than I'm talking about. It's all going to depend on the circumstance of the battle, including how many or how few resources the party used to survive it. Okay, so the designer is way harsher than I'm thinking. And I thought I was way too harsh already. So no, I suppose I'll stand by my rule then. Because he says even if you lose only just a few HP, it might not be a significant combat. Or if you only spend a little bit of resources. I mean, we didn't spend that many resources. We did spend 1 trick and technique, but we didn't lose any HP. So... yeah, I suppose. All right. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I tend to be more lenient with my family, like I said. They need the help. But at the same time, I'm also not that lenient. So I guess it's fine. I mean, Tales of Argosa is generally an easier game anyways. The fact that you can short rest ever and get back potentially like 75% of your lost damage is pretty huge. So it's already a fairly generous OSR game. As evidenced by the fact that we haven't lost a character yet. Right, so we butchered them. There are also wandering monster checks in the dungeon, which is pretty interesting. But I think that's mostly going to be for the unexplored areas. Well, now any room might have them. So in total, I think there's 2 brigands left alive. They don't know that. But now we might go down, although we're not aware of how many brigands are left alive down there either. So we might be walking into an ambush again as well. We could send down Nefira as like a scout. But if they're sitting in the dark waiting in ambush, she might not even realize they're down there unless she hears them breathing or something. Now they're not down there in ambush. I think they're just down there with a torch, sort of just like waiting. So she might be able to see that. My point is that it would be potentially a stupid plan for a character. So I guess let's do an oracle roll of will Nefira go down to scout? Okay, she's not, because it would be kind of a dumb plan if there were 6 more down there waiting in ambush. Even if she did go down in the darkness, she could just bump into one of them and then who knows what. So, I don't know if then we would assume... Oh, also there was 99 silver on one of them. One of the first ones we killed. We'll grab that. It's not really worth much XP. It's like 9 XP, so whatever. So I think instead... Fuck. Like I said, if we assume that there's another group down there waiting in ambush, it's just not smart to go down there. We might wait a bit. Alright, we're gonna go back to the cart in the tree line, and we're just gonna wait like 10-20 minutes, because eventually those brigands might come out. It's a good question though, would they come out? If they assume that they're the only ones left alive at that point, which after like 20 minutes or so they probably would assume that, I don't know what they'd think. I think they might come out with like their hands in the air and just hope that they don't catch an arrow. They might give up. Let's go to Oracle for that. Will they come out and surrender? No. Okay. So they're gonna bunker down and hope, and basically just wait it out and hope that like if 4 hours go by and no one comes down, that we left or something, or that we died. Maybe we caught a knife in the gut and bled out or something. Who knows what. So they're just gonna wait it out. They're gonna do the coward thing and just wait it out in there. So they're gonna just sit in the dark, which is pretty bad for them considering that there's wandering monsters. So I think we probably could then rule that they got caught by some crab spiders and got eaten. I think that's the most sensible if they're gonna wait it out in there. Now, I don't usually do oracle rolls when I'm DMing. Maybe I should do more of that, but I don't. So I'm kind of curious as to what I would do if I was just DMing this scenario. But I don't think I can answer that. It would be just be in the moment of what I would think what would happen. I might have just had all the brigands come out at once and leave none behind. So it would have been a pack of 8 of them. I don't know why I didn't do that exactly, but I just figured they wouldn't send everybody. But yeah, that's how we're ruling it. And I think we're going to end the video here. So we still have to explore the majority of this ruin. But we've already done pretty well for ourselves. We've gotten quite a few combat successes this video. And we picked up chainmail +1 and a shield +1, which is pretty great. One complaint that I saw about this module is that the treasure is really uninspired. Like, and it's definitely a much new school kind of thing with the OSR, that there should never be a chainmail +1. There should never be a two-handed sword +1. It should always be a unique, interesting item of some type. And I tend to agree with that. I think we've had this discussion before, that I think magic items should be more fun and interesting and stuff like that. Like here, instead of finding a shield +1, you find the shield of Argont. And this, the Tales of Argosa magic items upgrade as you level up. So the next time I level up to level 4, I would get the second level thing, and then 5, I'd get the third level thing. But also it says, in order to unlock the second and third powers, you must become a true follower of Argona. So this one, it would get the +1 shield effect, but it would also make you immune to poison and disease, which is pretty huge. This is a major magical item, though. This would be a big get. Then when you level up, you may negate a directional attack twice rather than once before requiring repair, so you can sunder it twice, technically. And then the next level, once per week, you can conjure a wall of spectral light. Treat it as the Veil of the Balor spell at 8th level, but made with searing light instead of fire. Like, that's a really nice item. There are minor ones, but that's usually like potions and scrolls. I think generally Tales of Argosa, if you're talking about a magical piece of equipment, it's generally a major. But that's Tales of Argosa. Shadow Dark, I think, has magic item generation that's a bit more varied and custom. So say we skip over this stuff and we know it's a longsword, we know it's +1, we could then roll for its benefit and its curse. Or, I mean, you don't have to do a curse. I think every magical item being cursed is kind of weird. I don't know if you're meant to roll it that way, but it says some magic items have a curse. Most magic items have at least one benefit. Yeah, so you can just roll for a benefit. It's a D20, you know, it's not a big list here, but it can shoot a bolt of energy in near distance with dexterity, or in our case, perception, for 1d6 damage. So it's like the Master Sword. Now, granted, anything you do with like a special magic item like that is probably going to be just better than a longsword +1. Not necessarily, because there might be a drawback, or there might be something like that. Or you could do it where it's not actually +1. It doesn't give any bonus to attack and damage, but it has a special trait. You could do it that way. But yeah, I'm generally of the opinion that magic items should be somewhat unique. I actually have, let's see, I'm gonna have to pull it up here. So there's a supplement, the Encyclopedia Magica, and there's 4 volumes of this. First volume is 417 pages. And this contains basically every magic item ever created for D&D. Up to a certain point. I think this is through 2nd edition. Yeah. So every item up through 2nd edition AD&D. Everything. So, every magic item of every type, you know? So it has like astrolabes and paintings and of course axes and stuff like that. So here's Agni's red axe. Anyone hit by Agni's glowing red axe must save versus paralyzation or burst into flames. Those failing the save suffer an additional 1d10 point of damage each round and cannot cast spells, fight, or do anything but roll on the ground until the flames are put out. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, most of these are going to be like high-level shit that's pretty powerful. And some have like really lengthy histories and lore related to it. Some kind of level up as you go, sort of like Tales of Argosa. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are going to be pretty darn powerful. I haven't really used this source much, but it is just really fascinating to me to see just how many fucking magic items there have been. A Death Striker. So it's an axe that can discharge a bolt of lightning to cause 66 points of damage. Saving throw is applicable. It also has an initiative modifier of +2. Each use consumes 1 charge. The axe has 2d10 plus 10 charges when found. Now, I wouldn't take that as is and put it in this module or anything, but you could do something similar. Because that's not like a +2 axe. That's just a normal +0 axe, but it gives you a +2 to initiative, which is fun. And it has the lightning bolt thing, but it only has a limited number of charges. I don't know if I do 2d10 plus 10, because it's a pretty powerful effect, but I might do, like, I don't know, 6 charges or something like that. You know, so, I mean, this is just a massive resource. And like I said, this is volume 1 of 4. So, billion different things. Here, if you used by a dwarf, this axe is +2 or +3 versus orcs and goblins, and has the powers to detect magic and see invisible. When used by a dwarf in melee, it raises the morale of the dwarves by 1 and lowers the morale of any orcs or goblins by 2. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good and fun stuff. It's Goblin Cleaver. And there's a lot of them that are just pretty basic. +3 axe, it does 2d8 points of damage. +3 axe, that strikes for 30 points of damage per hit. Just, you don't roll, it just does 30 points of damage per hit. That's pretty high end. We could go, I mean, I could spend like a 12-hour video just going through the Encyclopedia Magica. And I didn't buy this. This is available on archive.org or whatever. So you can just grab this if you want. It's pretty fascinating. But yeah, that's sort of my point though. Just like I do agree that a +1 sword and finding that, like, it is somewhat exciting as a player. It's like, fuck yeah, +1 shield. Yes, that's great. My AC goes up by 1. But not nearly as exciting as what it could be. Mostly at the table, I use the, the 1001 magic items, or whatever that book is. I don't even remember what it's called, but it just has it's sort of like this, but it's written for 5th edition D&D, but I obviously use it for all sorts of stuff. And it has, like, every type of magic item. It has swords, it has armor, but it also has, like, magic spoons or magic painting. It's got just kind of everything in it. And they're all different. There's nothing that's just, yep, this is a +1 sword. Like, because you already know what that is. So it has all sorts of stuff in there. I like that book a lot. And it's a lot easier to use than the Encyclopedia Magica. Although I would love just, like, this massive hardbound tome of the full Encyclopedia Magica. That would be pretty amazing. I mean, someone really should take this and just pretty it up and modernize it a little bit. Put it out there. But it would be so many pages. It'd be like 1,600 page tome. Anyways. that's where we're going to leave it off for today. We'll come back. We'll finish up the ruins of Forgel's Peak. And then after there's also this place called Forgel's End, which is somewhat nearby. I don't know how we figure out that that exists. There's like a treasure map we find. Yeah, okay, so I think we find a map we have to decipher, which leads to this other dungeon. Or maybe at least the vaults. I don't know how we find this. It's down here. I'm not quite sure. But from here, when we come out of here and we're successful, we might see that we're relatively close to this tower, and we might go for that. I could see that happening. Again, that cuts out a lot of other content if we just go for the tower, but I could see a lot of groups doing that, though. It's the kind of the biggest feature of the whole area that you can always see. And it's a magic tower, supposedly filled with ancient treasure. Alright, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.